complexity of storage tech always massively increases with the increase in different items that you want to sort and store. For many years, there has been a concept called multi-item sorting, which is basically a rather weird name for a system that tries to put items into a double chest, like this, and when the item is the correct one, it gets put in. Obviously, if the double chest or on any other container, of course, is completely empty, it will then put whatever item gets in first. This is incredibly useful for lower tech solutions if you don't want to build massive storage halls. However, even until recently, it wasn't that amazing, especially since it was very limited in both height, so you couldn't easily build things this tall, and you also couldn't easily build them one block next to the other, so one wide tileable. Now, thanks to the new 1.21 update, we can do both at the same time. So this in front of you is literally a storage that is one wide tileable both horizontally and vertically. So you can create an indefinitely large grid of these, and each of the double chests, in this case, since they are the most efficient ones, has 54 slots for items. So this is a 10 by 10 grid, which is 5,400 different items. That's more than twice the current amount, even including all the unobtainable items that you can have in Minecraft. What enabled this is the new copper bulb block. I'm currently using the oxidized one because it creates the least light updates, but any of them will work. And what this block does is it enables us to convert a observer pulse into a constant signal, because as you saw there, the thing turned red only for 2 game tags, and in storages like these we need to lock hoppers for 8 game tags at least. So yeah, let me show you that it actually works, because some of you may doubt this. As you can see, this activates the clock. I'll go over all the parts later. You can see this nicely filling up. And since you can probably tell, it's literally the same thing over and over. It works the same way everywhere. So why is it such a big breakthrough? Well, you can vertically access 10 blocks at least. And I go even to survival mode, because as some of you may know, creative has slightly longer reach. We can still access this. I actually maneuver myself properly there, not fall off. You can see it's slowly filling in even the glowstone dust. And the current systems only really had like 3 or 4 double chests. I showed one in the past, it had this full height, which meant you already had to walk a lot less. In this thing, you barely have to walk anywhere. You can almost access this moving a whopping 9 blocks from one side to the other in length. So let's go over all the parts. Let's start from the beginning. here we have this double chest, which serves as our input. Obviously, you can have anything that puts the items into this dropper as an input. Then, once this dropper is full, it gets detected by this comparator, or full by that I mean it has anything inside of it, which activates this 9 game tick clock. It's necessary that this is 9 game ticks, so 4 observers plus this 1 scaffolding. Due to the timings of this, technically it should be possible to make it 8 game ticks, but I never found a way how to time it in such a way that it would actually allow it, and this is only a rather small decrease. This means it can process 8,000 items per hour, which isn't that much, less than the theoretical maximum of 9,000 items per hour. When this clock is ticking, it's triggering this set of cobble walls to change their state by using this trapdoor. You can see these cobble walls change their shape ever so slightly. Then, of course, once it gets detected, it just travels to the side. This obviously doesn't need to be completely made out of observers. You can like alternate trapdoors, observers, or even observer, 2 node blocks, another observer. I just made it like this, so it's nicely one by tileable. And it's not like observers are that expensive. And then we have this special setup where each row of these copper bulbs is in a different state. This one also counts for the same state as here. You can just really not see them. Which means when these things are being triggered, it switches which hoppers are locked and unlocked. It happens basically at the same time for all of them. And since they are unlocked and available to push an item to the double chest for 8 or in this case 9 game ticks, they have time to push the item here until the next hopper below them unlocks and sucks out the item inside of them. This isn't anything revolutionary or new, except these blocks and the fact it's way more compact. So what happens after that? Because yeah, of course, one slice of this, which is already really overpowered. Like I would in many cases recommend you to just make one slice of this, so you don't even have to deal with the rest of this machinery. Once the items reach the bottom, they get put into this dropper, which fires them into this cobweb. I will go over this later. Once the items fall through the cobweb, they enter this water stream and go to the right and then upwards in this bubble column. And then they enter another hopper at the top and then another dropper, similar to the setup we have right here. And this dropper is activated by the same cycling of these comparator states. And the first row here is, instead of being done the same way as this one, it's turned sideways. This is the only real difference between the rows of hoppers here. Oh, and of course this one, but you can actually make it slightly different. And then we are basically back to the start. Except the clock is being triggered by this dropper here. And then again we go down into the water, back up, and so on. We go over all the rows and columns of this machine. Can even send a few of these spruce pressure plates so you can see how it looks like. So you can see they are nicely being fired into the cobweb. This obviously isn't perfect. So now I'm going to talk a bit about how you could possibly improve this. I made this with the specific focus on making this as simple and as compact as possible. However, simple and compact doesn't mean the least laggy or the cheapest or any other requirement you can think of. Generally, the easiest way to improve this would be to remove this line of hoppers and this set of cobweb here by making the water streams in such a way that the water itself pushes the items to the side. This would require a staggered system where the water streams look a bit more like this, and the water is on top of these. So, and then each of them obviously moves it one to the left. To prevent the cobweb thing, you can also use trapdoors. However, there are two problems with this. Firstly, if I would just replace this with trapdoors, the items could still land in the wrong columns, which is a problem. That would massively reduce the efficiency of this thing. So to do that, you would need to have a lot more of these trapdoors. Like it would look a bit more like this. So the item has time to reach all of the corners, no matter how the dropper decides to eject it. That would obviously then reduce the time for it to cycle and slightly reduce the lag. But this is still pretty low lag when you think about it, because unlike previous systems, this also uses the water mechanics that didn't exist back in versions such as 1.12, with this cable walls being next to this water column, which pushes the items upwards. Previously, people always used droppers, a long line of droppers, and as you have seen in my lag test videos, triggering droppers is very laggy. That's why in basically every storage that can, they use always water, since it can transport the most amount of items for the least amount of lag. And it's also really simple and cheap at the end of the day. It's still easier to build this than it is to have a huge set of droppers and then have another huge set of these observers to trigger them. There's another way to change this setup here. You can make these bubble columns one block further to the right and use cobble walls in front of these observers that are looking like this way. That would completely remove the need to have the observers like here. Like this, you would only need one row at the top. And even that can be optimized. So if you are really strapped for quartz, you can do that. But with the new pickling bartering farms, that's also not a problem. So yeah, I helped a bunch of you guys with this. Now you don't need to waste your time with horrible outdated designs that are way less efficient than this, way more laggy, even harder to build for in most cases, can break in a bunch of weird ways, and you can now just use this thing. To build these things, you basically just fill out one of these rows at a time, or every second row at a time, then you trigger it once, and then you fill the other one. And that's, yeah, that's, I think, all you really need to do to build this. Again, if you, for whatever reason, have a problem to build this, from this video alone, you shouldn't build it. It's really that simple. If a machine is so complex that you cannot understand how it works, from a video where I spent 10, 15 minutes, 20 or even more explaining it, showing it from every possible angle and explaining every mechanic I can, you definitely don't want to build it. You should build something even simpler, like build only one of these sets. Like, for example, build one double chest and figure out how it works. Then you can take a look at building more of those in your creative world. Don't try to, I don't know, build this from and ask me for schematics or whatever, because that's not adequate for design like this. This isn't complex enough for me to warrant building something like that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share, subscribe, all the things so people can see it and know about this. And that's all for today. But I will obviously be continuing to use the new blocks, especially the auto crafters and these bulbs, to completely break all the other storage deck machines that existed for now, since almost all of them are pointless once these exist. Or at least not pointless, but technically invalid. They became they were made obsolete by the new technology, which is great. Like, it's such a nice change up in pace, because we were basically using the same filters, box loaders, and so on for, I don't know, 5, 6 years, even more, with only very, very minor changes. So have a nice day, and goodbye.